Welcome to the Hotel Tech Podcast. This is the show where we tackle your most pressing issues to bring your business more wins. Keeping up with technology is challenging. Our experts are here to help you figure it all out. Here's your hosts, Glenn Houseman and Estella Hale.
Everybody, and welcome back to the Hotel Tech Podcast. This is episode 7. If you hadn't had a chance to listen to the last 6, be sure to check out the No Vacancy podcast feed. You'll get to download all of that and, of course, SHR website. My name is Glenn Houseman. I'm your co-host today, and I have with me the wonderful, incredible Estella Hale, who's the Chief Product Evangelist with SHR, and, of course, that's Scepter Hospitality Resources, one of the best, top, incredible minds in our industry. Estella, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Glenn. Very excited to be doing episode 7. It has been so much fun, and I'm particularly excited for our guest and the topic today, so it should be great.
I'm excited too, and I will tell all of you listening out there, if you hadn't had a chance to listen to our shows, you must. This show is catching fire. I can't believe how many people are listening to it, letting us know that they're listening to it, talking about the show, and really enjoying the topics that we're talking about. If you haven't listened to our last show, check it out. It's amazing. It's with Greg Mount. He's the President and Chief Executive Officer with RLH Corporation, and it's all about how they're utilizing a tech package called RevPack to empower their hoteliers to be more successful. It was a great topic. It was a great conversation. Really interesting person. But one of the things that I think we all have to think about is the buying process for hoteliers. When it comes to buying technology, what is that process? Is it something that's working? Is it something that could use improvement? And that's why we brought in today's guest today. And that's going to be Mr. Chuck Valentino, VP for Vagabond Inn Corporation, where he manages and implements all hotel and franchise procedures. Plus, he's a certified hotel administrator and has been around the business since 1994, working his way up the ranks to success. And also we have with us Mr. Jordan Hollander, co-founder of Hotel Tech Report, a site that helps you understand what the best technologies are out there through ratings and understanding and reviewing the hotel technology industry. Gentlemen, welcome aboard. How are you guys today?
Good morning.
Doing great. Thanks for having us, Glenn. Love the show. I'm happy to be here.
Great to talk to you. So I think maybe so people could know your voices and what you're all about. Maybe, Chuck, give us a little bit, 30 seconds about yourself that I haven't already shared.
Okay. Chuck Valentino. I've been bouncing around this industry for 30 plus years or so. The technology portion of it has always been in our vertical. It's what I think gave us an edge through the years, and I'm excited to do anything I can to help our partners at SHR. If Estella asked me to come over there and vacuum up or whatever, I would. So here we are.
Estella, you need a guy to do some vacuuming.
No. Basically, what we are doing today is what we need and what hotels need. I'm so excited to have Chuck and Jordan in our show. I think that really the buying process for hotel technology is getting more complex. It's going beyond the needs of the immediate, but also seeing and looking ahead as to what hotels need to be on. And I think we have a great audience that listens to our show that maybe have just a single hotel or just a small group of hotels, that maybe getting little bits of nuggets of information from this show that can really help them leverage that seemingly complex and sometimes even scary buying process and making big decisions for their companies. And really the extracting information from Chuck and from Jordan about this process is way better than anything else we can ask for. So we're so thankful for you being here today.
I like it too. I'm excited. Jordan, I got to hear all about Hotel Tech Report for people that don't know about it. Sounds like it's a great resource to really understand what's happening with current and future technologies.
Yeah, absolutely. So we really like to consider ourselves TripAdvisor for hotel technology. Hoteliers come to our site to leave reviews about the vendors they work with. And other hoteliers come and can benefit from that insight to decide which vendors are going to be best for their needs. So when we think about what we're doing, we're really trying to turn the whole hotel industry into people like Chuck, who are technology innovators. And we think by making information really accessible and digestible and just easy to understand, we're able to make a lot more people feel a little bit less apprehensive about technology and really demystify what's going on in the market. And kind of my background coming into Hotel Tech Report, I actually started my career in hotels. I had a career prior to hotels as an investment analyst, investing in stocks. But my first job in hotels was investing in boutique hotels and running business development for a private equity firm out of the Bay Area. And while I was there, I got to see and really oversee some of the purchasing of different pieces of our tech stack. I got to see some of the outdated pieces of our tech stack, and I saw how complicated it was. From there, I went to work on the global partnerships team at Starwood, where I saw another problem in the industry, the kind of convoluted industry structure that exists, making it really difficult for buyers to get the right approvals in their organizations. And then from there, I actually started a digital concierge business where we scaled it up to about 20 hotels, got into an accelerator with Pritzker Venture Capital out of Chicago, which is obviously the founding family of Hyatt. And while we were scaling up that business, we started to see that these challenges were hurting not just buyers, but sellers in the market. And we thought there was a huge need to just bring all the information into one place and bring transparency. And so we really pivoted into what is Hotel Tech Report today.
Excellent. I think that's a really great positioning that you have there. A very fascinating product. So I think maybe we'll just start with you with the first question, and then Chuck, jump in on this. How about that buying process? Is it working for hoteliers, Jordan?
Yeah, so I think the real challenge here for both buyers and sellers in this market is that it's such a convoluted process. There's so many different types of technologies. There's so many different companies out there, and each of those companies are making different types of products. And from the buyer side, hoteliers like Chuck are hearing from vendors that they're either the number one rated vendor or they're creating a whole new category. And so the ones who aren't as knowledgeable on the technology side of things kind of either throw up their hands and say, hey, we'll deal with this technology problem 3 years from now, or they just pick whatever's top of mind for them. And so that really, on one hand, I don't think that many of these hoteliers don't think that their process is broken until 2 years into a contract with a vendor that they realize is not the right vendor for them. So what we're trying to do is help them bring out some of those issues, because like Estella said, these are huge decisions that they're making for their properties, and they have massive impacts on profitability and operational efficiency. And so we just want to give them the information they need to make better decisions. So when you talk about the buying process, I think a lot of the buying is still happening via word of mouth and via what's top of mind or who the biggest brands are in the space. And I think that's great, and that's important for hoteliers to, go with brands that are trusted so they know they'll be around long enough. I think working with very, very new startups is a really challenging thing for a hotelier to take on that risk. But when it comes to finding innovative products, there are some great companies that have gotten tons of traction, that have tons of runway, insanely good products, and even better customer support organizations that so many hoteliers just aren't aware of. And that's what we're trying to bring to their attention.
Chuck?
Oh, 100%. And I'm really surprised we haven't had something similar to this in the past, at least from a peer-to-peer standpoint. I know that from the 90s when I started this, the technology challenges are somewhat similar to what they are today, which sounds crazy, but the fact is we had a larger group of professionals that were truly hospitality technology integrators or built into your staff. You had large computing. You had people that were truly professionals that I learned through and we grew through by having our own big hardware and big systems and having to connect to airlines and stuff direct, where now I think you end up with, I don't know, the desk clerk or the assistant manager or the or corporate person that can fix your browser now becomes the guy that's buying your millions of dollars worth of technology, and they don't understand the long-term problems. They really evaluate things like most hotel people do. We're cheap, we're over-leveraged, we've purchased a 10, 15, $20 million hotel. We don't have lots of money to throw around, and we start at price, and price is relative at the moment to what it looks like it's contracted at, but it's by design complicated, and the value add is never there. It's always additional and hard to quantify the costs because the salespeople do a better job than the people who are actually out there trying to find a product and make it fit for what they need. The next big problem with that is we don't have a way to really identify what we need. I don't know what I know until I know it. And it's hard to pull that out of the millions of different processes and systems that are out there now. And it makes it very, very challenging, I can tell you, to get down to a real true cost at the end of your contract, what it really costs you versus what you thought it was going to cost you. And I think we're always judging on price first and foremost.
And Chuck and Jordan, I think also sometimes pieces that might not become apparent on the pricing sheet, such as service or level of integration with other systems that you already have, are some things that are not as clear precisely in the buying process. But once you begin the implementation, or once you start to try to get out of it the value that you really needed from that particular piece of technology, that's when sometimes you realize that the pieces that were left out on the pricing sheet. Is that common?
I think it's very common by design, right?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of work with management companies where we're just, we really come in to help them as a third party. It's not really a core part of our business, but we're always trying to identify research and insights to help with some of the problems that Chuck outlined. But we were doing some consulting work for a management company with, I think, 5 or 7 hotels, pretty decent sized revenue, 50 to 70 million across their portfolio. And they were looking to sign on a big new property management system. And so we asked the person who was running the project, we asked them about integration fees. And they had already basically started the process of signing the initial LOI. And he had told us that there were no integration fees. And I asked him, I was like, can you just send this along? Can you send me along what the proposal was? If you wouldn't mind doing that, we're happy to review it for you, give you some insights. And we look at it, and there were $250,000 over a 3-year contract of integration fees. And in addition to that, they would also, for any new system, so they had a business intelligence system that they were looking to switch out within the next couple of years. So if they wanted to switch that, it would be additional fees on top of that. And so there's a lot of this hidden cost that is certainly an issue, transactional fees on CRS and things like that for some of the old school players that I don't need to educate you on. But there's a lot of these hidden fees that will come in, and it's really important. I think a lot of times the vendors will think that they're kind of increasing their profit per deal, and there's some short-term incentives for each sales rep or each employee that's dealing with that contract. But when you look at the long term, you're really providing, there's a lack of opacity, or it's a really opaque market. And since the buyers don't know what they're getting, they're super skeptical about everything they see, which means they kick the can down the road and it takes them longer to purchase, which means that for technology vendors, it actually takes them longer to sell, which costs them more. So just like Chuck's saying, there's all these opportunity costs and externalities on the buyer side. I think there's a ton of that going on the seller side, and that's really where the transparency kind of brings efficiency to the market and saves costs for everyone, not just the buyers.
Huh, that's a really fascinating point. So, Chuck, tell us a little bit about how you avoid these types of problems for folks that might not be as used to buying technology. Because I never would have thought to check the fine print for all of these integration fees, for example. And I would hate to wake up one morning thinking I made a great deal, only to find out that I've really hurt the bottom line of my company substantially.
Well, we've been on both sides of the fence, so I've owned and operated and helped create a property management solution and sort of a representation company at some point. We've done bad deals with other, let's just call them GDS or outside companies that support all kinds of different reservation delivery services going back to the beginning of booking engine stuff. So you learn quickly that the devil is definitely in the details, and you want the things that cost to be very spelled out and specific. So that's probably never going to happen. I don't want to say never, but it's going to be difficult to get something like that by us now. We've had very detailed understanding of what's happening when you purchase something through any integrator these days. But more importantly, I think the soft costs are what people miss. You should have a good lawyer and someone review your contract and understand the dollars and cents of it. But when you're talking about being on hold for hours with support, when you have an entire vertical of your hotel waiting for a solution. When I have 35 hotels that can't book on a Friday night, I can't quantify those costs. It's impossible to me. I don't even know what one missed reservation could have been going across the next year or whatever. So that part gets just put aside.
Right.
And I find it fascinating to me when I ask people like, well, what's the support like? Who's your person that you're going to talk to regularly? Do you have someone that is going to own that integration piece between the two companies, even if you pay a little bit for it? What happens when it's broken in the middle, which is always where it's broken? And they usually don't have good answers for that. And from either side, from the seller, the buyer, or when we're putting together something as complicated as, 3 or 4 different layers to make this happen, that's a whole nother podcast I would like to get onto, why the hotel industry continues to go down that path. But
totally.
It is still the way you have to do things. You need 3 or 4 integrators to make stuff happen well and effectively. So I think my biggest decision on purchasing, once you get past what we can say or call price, all things equal, is the real cost to me is in time and downtime, and avoiding that, because nobody absorbs that except me. And if it's the management company, it's even worse. I don't get to bill for that. I don't get to say, hey, that really wasn't in our contract. Please send me some more money. It's not going to happen. So
maybe you should push into the fine print then that they need to pay $250,000 worth of sitting around fees.
I have to see that contract. I'd like to figure out how they got that passed. Well, like I said, it's probably not a very sophisticated buyer. Hotels are notoriously bad for that. And, we sort of rely on what we know. It's great when you go to a hotel and you say, oh, they have a system I've been using forever. I don't have to learn again or have to add that to my list of already too many things I'm doing. And quite frankly, most of the time, that's the way the purchase decisions go too. Let's just throw whoever in the mix because I know that really well and it worked really good at my last hotel, which could be completely wrong for the type of hotel you have and the type of customer you have and everything else. But that's not really entering into the conversation. It's really ease of use and familiarity and their understanding of how that system and their own vertical works. And I can guarantee you 90% of the process of purchasing happens that way in the hotel world.
And Chuck, building into what you were saying about the soft costs or this consequences when a piece in the middle is broken, what do you guys think about also what we're seeing in the erosion of the hotels connecting with guests and this trend of just connecting to channels? I feel that could be another consequence or soft cost, where because it is difficult to integrate, because it is difficult to get vendors to talk to each other or to be in the middle or to get that service call answered to see how we can resolve this, more and more kind of a secondary consequence is that hoteliers, especially again under the tyranny of the urgent, might be giving too much for the quote unquote stable connections that bring the bookings and might end up giving more than the original intended share to, for example, OTAs.
100%. We sold our soul to the OTA a long time ago. So gaining that customer back with a 3-pronged approach to customer engagement is never going to end up very well. Most of the PMSs don't support something allow us to engage directly. A lot of the CRES or the other reservation delivery systems don't share that information very well or have a limited ability to reach out to them. It's a place where we've lost true ability to market directly to our own customers through this new world order we have of connectivity and desire to bring as much revenue to the hotel as possible. And, from the other side and running and owning hotels, I get it. I don't have a whole lot of time to consider where this money's coming from. As long as I'm getting it, everybody's happy. The cost comes later. And, right now in the current architecture of the way things are, there's a good argument to say, look, Expedia delivers to me, but I don't pay anything for it in the end. They do all the marketing, they do all the stuff, they have all the systems, they make sure that the customer is engaged all the time, and we're in one of their favorite hotels. We've created that monster. Now, how we defend against it, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that sounds like another show that we could absolutely do here. I'm going to make a big list of all these great topics that we have to do in the future. But I'm really curious, Jordan, for inexperienced people buying hotel technology after, looking out for the fine print and maybe, putting confidence into a new startup that might not be there for the long term, what do you think are some of the biggest mistakes that the hotel tech buyer is making, and how could they avoid them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key mistake is probably overconfidence with a lack of information. And I know that's a little bit broad, but
I feel like I should make a joke about people talking about politics at this point. But go on.
It's exactly the case. So what we see is that even using our site, hoteliers will want to get more information, but they're super time strapped, and I'm sure Chuck's whole team is feeling this. So if they're ever making decisions, it's really hard to invest a ton of time in reading a 41-page white paper on revenue management software. They just don't have the time to do the full research. So what they'll do is they'll go to pick the lowest hanging fruit and understand the landscape out there. And that's really what our site has done to date. It showed them who are the credible vendors that they can work with. But the problem that we've been having as we work with hotels is that they come to our site and they pick the first couple of vendors on there, and they think that they're done with their research process because they just want to get through it, and they feel like they have some validation. And so I think it's the lack of due diligence, it's the lack of understanding requirements, as Chuck alluded to earlier. I think in many cases, hotels don't know what they're looking for. And ultimately, I think the most important thing that any hotel asks us or asks vendors is, what do other hotels like me think about this product? Because ultimately that brings out, how much downtime do you have on integrations? What's the support time for response? And so just talking with other people like you is the best way to really get through all of the noise that's out there and all of the kind of bold marketing and sales claims. Just ask for a credible reference, and sometimes they'll be cherry picked. But I think finding an unbiased reference to help you understand what their experience is like, not operating a product, but working with a partner company like SHR, and really understand what that feels like, and not just what the UX is like. The UX is important, but really what it's like to have a partner organization working with you. And so kind of going back to your question, I think the biggest mistake is not spending enough time finding credible, unbiased references and testimonials and case studies, and really understanding what it's like to work with a partner and not just use a product like MailChimp as an example.
That's a good example.
I completely agree with Jordan. And I think part of the feeling maybe uncomfortable is accepting that you may not know. You may not know enough, and you have to go to your peers to get that information, because as Chuck said, these decisions are put into these different roles. And once the decision is put into my role, I want to show that I am the expert. So I may be shy about going and asking peers, hey, what does it look like for a similar profile property? And I think actually breaking through that would end up benefit that buying decision, and just getting through the fear of, no, I'm supposed to want to be the one that knows this because I'm the one making the decision.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point, Estelle. And
on top of that, it's really hard. I'm sorry. The thought is, we did a complete rehash over here, and it was maybe the dumbest thing I've ever done, but it's also been the best thing I've ever done.
Thanks for not saying that this is the dumbest thing you've ever done, Chuck.
No, this is down the line a little bit lower, but absolutely, we went from scratch. We got a brand new PMS, brand new integration to our call center, brand new partnership with SHR, and I don't think that's the case. Most places are not going to do that. They start with the limiting factor of what they've got sitting in front of them right now, which is the PMS. And if the PMS supports 2 booking engines, well, they're going to pick between those 2. That's it. And unfortunately, the PMS drives a lot of these decisions that are made across all kinds of verticals, believe me. And unfortunately, there's no easy solution to that. They may be willing to change representation, but they're not going to revamp the front desk because they'll get a better booking engine. In most cases, I can tell you.
So it sounds to me then, gentlemen, that what we really need to think about is, that PMS was thrust into being the brain of the hotel. It wasn't always designed that way, but the newer breed of PMSs that we're seeing out there, especially the cloud-based PMSs out there, are a lot more flexible. So maybe the first step when you're thinking about going down the road and doing the technology buying process is take a look at your property management system and see if it is actually capable of handling all of the things that you're looking to do in the future and the opportunities that may or may not be available if you stay with that particular product. Is that a fair assessment?
Jordan?
Yeah, I think it is. We launched an integration search engine on our site for exactly this reason. So a hotelier like Chuck can come on the site. You could say either A, I'm using property management system X. What can I use for business intelligence or CRM or anything like that? And then the other thing that we want to do is show them, which is the most integrated property management system. If you were going to make a switch, who gives you the most flexibility in the market to really iterate on your business? And I think ultimately that's the innovation challenge that hotels have. You have a huge fixed asset. You have a really complex operation. And so most hoteliers don't want to go through the immense amount of work that comes with what Chuck did of really revamping all their systems. And so they try all these small tactical moves, but ultimately it's just building on a broken system and putting Band-Aid on Band-Aid on a broken arm. And so what we want to do is help them understand what are the possible booking engines you can use with a given property management system. And if your property management system isn't flexible enough, which one should you switch to that gives you the most runway in the future to make more decisions when you need to, or if you're unhappy with a vendor, to give you the opportunity to switch and really keep them accountable.
Right. I think what you're saying is this is interesting because I think this applies to the larger thing that we all deal with in life. I've learned a lesson in life that anytime I try to take a shortcut, it winds up costing me a lot more time, effort, and pain. And that perhaps the effort of maybe changing that property management system might be the right way to start, might be a little bit more work at the beginning, but then you're not stuck in that position of having to keep trying to figure out workarounds and do those Band-Aids that you were talking about. So the pain, you get it up front instead of a constant stream of pain for as long as time goes on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's most of the times you'll find there's duplication or a better way to do it through one of the integration partners or less expensive way. And if you don't look at it holistically or from the bottom up, you won't identify those things, and you'll just be paying twice sometimes or paying for integration you don't need. It's complicated and usually done last minute and on a stress. We got to get this before summer. We just took over this hotel. We have new manager. It's in our budget. We've got to do it by the end of the year. So, the real world comes into play a lot more than we'd like to admit.
So hopefully with what we've gathered today, we can kind of help hotels and hoteliers to get some of these concepts before they enter again into that process that ends up always being shortened because of the tyranny of the urgent or the next peak season. So I heard you guys mention, take a holistic view. What is it that you're trying to accomplish in the buying process for a particular technology? Use your peers. Do not be shy about reaching out. We have an industry that is very open to helping each other and giving their opinions, and use sites like Hotel Tech Report, use peer reviews. Just think about that. You will never get all of the information that you need from the vendor. You will get a lot of information, but not everything you need. So using the holistic view, using the opinions of your peers really can help you understand to evaluate better. And then just kind of feel if it seems like the vendor is listening, or do they need to listen to what is your view of what you're trying to achieve with the technology, so they actually at least attempt to give you a proposal that is the most relevant to you, and then of course take a look at everything that is in that proposal to make sure that A, you need it, and B, you have accounted for it. Do you guys think that's a good perspective?
Very good perspective. The accountability usually comes like Jordan was saying about 2 years into the contract.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, this really didn't work out, or I need to change. So.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think the way that the technology buying process occurs today is like going to the supermarket when you haven't eaten all day, and hoteliers are reactive and they have to present something to their owners in 2 days, or something is going horribly wrong. And I think what the change that needs to happen is hoteliers need to take Estella's mindset as a product manager, and they need to say, okay, what are my business goals holistically? If I want to drive direct bookings, here are the 5 technologies that I could use. They're all substitutes for each other. I could upgrade my booking engine to increase conversion. I could get a new digital marketing agency to drive more traffic to my website, or to increase conversion on my website to drive more traffic to that booking engine. I could upgrade my CRM so that I can get more business from my email marketing program. And you basically will say, here are my business goals. I want to do more direct bookings this year, and that's where we're weak. So here are my 5 tactics that I can use to get there. Here's how much impact I think they could have on my business. And you prioritize just like a product manager does. And don't do it at the time when you're in the grocery store hungry. Do it at a time when you have a moment to get together as a team and really reflect on your business goals, and think about technology as solutions to your problems, not as, oh crap, our systems went down and we need a new vendor because this isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I got one more question for each of you folks. I'm curious as to what do you feel is the next big technology you really should be considering for your business? And conversely, what's particular technology out there that you feel has been kind of overblown and maybe you should pass over?
Yeah, I think, I always like to frame people around the idea, like it's always exciting to think about the new technologies that are out there. But for us, it's really about finding great companies and great partners for hotels. So I think there's some really interesting technology coming out around email marketing and CRM. Like Revenate has just launched a really incredible product that makes email marketing super simple for the hotelier. And by making it super simple, like Chuck was talking about, needing UX that's accessible for the person who's on the ground who's operating that software, it means that these hoteliers can get more efficient and better at marketing. So I think CRM, and even we get a lot of inbound from venture capitalists asking for advice of which companies should they be investing in. And they almost unanimously tell us that email marketing and CRM in the hotel space is one of the most interesting categories. So I think that's really interesting. And in terms of overblown categories, I would say that so the way that we started our business was in a digital concierge. I think anything that doesn't impact the bottom line directly, or doesn't impact your operational efficiency, is really hard for a hotelier to justify. And so I think there's this whole movement, and we were personally guilty of selling to hotels on, Airbnb's doing experiences, so you guys should be too. I think that whole space is really overblown in the hotel world. And from most of what we hear, hoteliers just aren't really thinking about that today. They really think about local experiences as creating a great F&B outlet, as, having a great concierge, as having great design around their hotel. But they're not thinking about, which surfing lesson provider to send you to. So I think we tried to play on that hype, and so I could implicate myself here. But I think that entire space is completely overblown, and probably biased from my negative experience there. But I think we continue to see some of the same ideas there.
I like that. Well, bias is in fashion these days anyway, so it's perfect. So
it's either black or white, buddy.
That's right.
For sure. No, the CRM is 100% where I'm good. That integration between CRM, PMS, or that ultimate PMS that really drives the CRM makes more sense to me, being the hub of the whole process. Is the only way you're going to get that one-to-one relationship everybody's trying to achieve now. Apparently Facebook and maybe Google and a few other people have down pat. But other than that, the rest of us really trying to understand what our customer likes and needs, and creating that personalized experience and reaching out to them on a personal level so that they're booking with us instead of an OTA or another channel is really the ultimate goal. And, you know, the CRM, for lack of a better term, is really more than just a place where we've got content and information about our customer. It needs to drive revenue, like you said. It needs to have an action that's going to get people to engage us. And it's complicated, and it's not easy to do when you have 5 different outlets for your customer to choose to book with you.
You're right, and we actually have seen quite a bit of growth in the business of just building integrations. So there's a company called Impala out of the UK that builds on-demand integrations with property management systems to really solve the problems that we've been talking about. There's another one called Happy, founded by Louis Segreto, who is one of the co-founders of Hot Sauce. And so those guys are doing some really, really interesting stuff to solve a lot of the problems that really open up the channels for all vendors and make some of these integrations problems and downtimes go away. So I think that's really a place where hoteliers should start to just educate themselves and get familiar with those kinds of companies, because they can be a huge value add, lower integration costs, and make their operations more efficient across all their systems.
I agree, Chuck and Jordan. I think CRM is definitely one of the things that we're going to be seeing a transformation here in the near future. I think it holds a lot of promise. I'm excited into looking at more attribute-based responses, if you will. I think it has been for a while now so much based on profile attributes of a particular traveler versus the travel experience itself that can be very different, even for the same person. And I think technology now is allowing us to record such vast amounts of information really at a quite affordable price. So I think from every technology, the aspect of knowing the reason for travel and putting that layer above the attributes of the traveler itself, it's a really exciting and promising field.
Very true. And there's a couple of verticals that are really looking interesting, like digital key. We can own those customers by default. We can get them to download an app. We can get them to engage with us directly for things and what they'd like, don't like. We can get ahead of customer service problems, where I think that's been a big struggle for especially smaller hotels to gain any kind of real information about your customer when you don't get a chance to engage them very often or very directly. So I think there's some really cool technology coming that's going to allow us to understand our guests better and do that data collection. We have a hard time owning that data at the hotel level, especially limited service, and where we have people that have a very different experience if they're heading to the beach versus our downtown properties. And we do treat them somewhat similar. And I think that's going to change when we start to know them better and gain more information about what they do and like and how we engage with them.
From a vendor perspective, I will add ourselves to that challenge and saying, okay, then now that we have the data, how are we going to work on the visualization of that data? Because, the understanding of complex information means that less and less users will be able to adopt it. So from a vendor perspective, we have to step up and say, okay, how are we going to make this visually appealing and understanding and work on that user experience and that engagement and interaction so that it can really be relevant. So I think both from a hotelier and from a vendor perspective, we need to embrace that challenge.
Excellent. And Chuck, I know I said I only had one more question. I lied. You're going to get to know me. I lie all the time about these kinds of things. But it just occurred to me, being that you buy technology, when is the right time to buy a particular type of technology? I'm thinking about, sometimes you get excited about stuff, but maybe you should wait. And then it gets to a point where now all of a sudden everybody has it and it's the standard. How do you know when is the right time to buy a right type of technology?
Yeah, it's the iPhone or the iPhone S, you know what I mean?
That's right.
Kind of thought process. And, we've always been early adopters of things. I'd rather be creating the solution and working in the mix of, hey, this would really be better now that we've used it a while, or if you just added this or brought this partner in, you'd have a much better product. And that doesn't work for everyone, but I think I'd just rather be in the innovative side of things than buying the canned one that's mature and probably at end of life most of the time.
Great. All right. Sense. So I think it makes total sense. All right. So I guess now we're for my favorite part of the show, which is not just the end, but time for those shameless plugs. So Chuck, why don't you go tell us a little bit more about Vagabond, how people could find you, and then Jordan, you take it away.
Sure.
So,
we have sort of an all-around approach to hotels. We are actually Vista Investments is the parent company, and I like to promote them a little bit. We have the Vimco, which is the Vista Inns management company. We manage, we specialize in smaller, more difficult to operate on the ocean, beach, California-based properties. And of course, Vagabond Inns. We'd love to have anyone with an independent thought that might want to improve what they're doing, bring in systems like SHR and our technology partners without having to make those decisions. We handle all that for you, along with marketing and all the things that happen when you're on your own. Fall in our lap for a real reasonable franchise fee. So thank you for
Excellent.
the time.
Good shameless plugging. I appreciate that. Next time, though, you got to be more aggressive with it. Don't be so shy. All right? So, Jordan, how about you?
Okay, now I need to be aggressive, huh? So, at Hotel Tech Report, we just want hoteliers to know that they're not alone in this decision anymore, and that it's a completely transparent market, and that TripAdvisor is not just for them to be accountable, but for vendors as well. And we want them to know that this is a safe place for them to leave feedback and really contribute to the community. We have an incredible and our first ever full site redesign coming out next week, so we encourage people to check it out. You'll be able to basically go on and select by segment. You'll be able to say, I'm a bed and breakfast. What's the best CRS for me? And based on the reviews, we'll give recommendations and relevancy scores, and you'll be able to see what other bed and breakfasts like you think about the products. And on the vendor side, we actually have some really cool tools to help great vendors like SHR really embrace transparency and really do some of the things that they urge their hotels to do with TripAdvisor reviews and guest feedback scores. So we have tools that help vendors solicit feedback from clients. They can collaborate across their team. They can really see who to be following up with at the right time so that they're not making too many asks of their hotel clients. But I think bringing in that two-way conversation and relationship is really important to build relationships with your existing clients and really deepen that engagement, and also build trust with prospects through the sales process. So we encourage your sales team to use SHR's Hotel Tech Report profile as a way to really position against the competition and show them what your clients think. And we encourage hoteliers to come on the site, chat with us via the live chat, and we're always happy to give advice. Everything is completely free on the hotel side.
Beautiful. Excellent. I think that's absolutely amazing. Great one right there. Stella, you want to say any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Just really to thank Chuck and Jordan for your time. I hope everyone finds the podcast as interesting as we've found it fun. And again, a reminder to use the tools that you have, to use your peers, and to make sure that your vendors are listening, that your vendors act as partners. And hopefully this will make it easier for your next buying process from a hotel perspective.
Excellent. So just remember out there, technology can be daunting. It can be frightening. You don't know what to do, when to do it. But with sites like Hotel Tech Report and good, smart people providing their thoughts and commentary, such as Chuck Valentino, the VP of Vagabond Inn, you guys can make those right decisions. So remember, read that fine print. Ask people at cocktail parties or wherever you are about what they really think about types of technologies. And unless you're like Chuck, don't jump in too early, but don't be afraid to get in there at the right time, because if you wait too long, everyone's going to get it. And the future is all about CRM. Remember, it's up to you to own the guests. Don't let those other folks own them. It's all about you. And a lot of technologies that we're seeing out there are going to allow you to have that happen. Wow, I can't believe it. We've done it. This is episode 7 in the books. I want to thank everybody for listening today. Now, if you want to check out the rest of our podcasts that we've done so far, and if you're in the future and you're listening to this one, all the ones that we've done since, be sure to check out SHR's website. That's shr.global. And, of course, we're on the No Vacancy Network. You can find that at novacancynews.com or wherever podcasts are found, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, all of those great things. Subscribe to the show. Be sure to like us. Send us the love, because I'm extremely insecure and I can need your help. And then also, if you're too lazy to do all of that, just text the word hotel to 66866. That's the word hotel to 66866, and I'll get you on the No Vacancy newsletter that comes out every Sunday night. And the Hotel Tech Podcast is prominently featured in there, as well as our mothership show and a lot of other shows that we have that are just about to launch now. I want to thank you all for listening, and we'll be back next time with another amazing episode of the Hotel Tech Podcast. So for Estella Hale and myself, Glenn Hausman, thanks so much for listening.